The midnight game started as a dare. Emily and her friends, Sarah and Jake, were spending the weekend at an old cabin deep in the woods. The cabin belonged to Emily's grandparents, who had passed away years ago, leaving it to her family. It was dusty, creaky, and felt forgotten, just the kind of place perfect for scary stories. On the second night, after the campfire had burned low, Jake pulled out a piece of paper and grinned. "Have you ever heard of the midnight game?" Emily rolled her eyes. "That's just a stupid internet thing." "It's real," Jake said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "If you follow the rules, it works. But if you mess up—" He paused for dramatic effect. "Let's just say people don't finish the game." Sarah laughed nervously. "What happens if you don't finish?" Jake leaned closer. "They say, the midnight man gets you." Emily groaned. "Oh, come on. You don't actually believe that, do you?" Jake shrugged. "Why not find out? It's simple. All we need is paper, a candle, a drop of your blood, and a clock. Oh, and you have to start it exactly at midnight." Despite their initial reluctance, the idea intrigued them. The three of them gathered supplies from the cabin, giggling nervously as they prepared. At 11:59 p.m., they each wrote their full names on a piece of paper. Jake handed them a needle. "Just a tiny drop," he said. "Prick your finger and smear it on the paper. That's the offering." Emily hesitated but went along with it. When all three papers were marked, Jake lit a single candle and set it in the center of the table. The room was dark, the only light coming from the flickering flame. "Now," Jake said, glancing at his watch, "blow out the candle exactly at midnight, then relight it. That's how you invite him." Emily laughed nervously. "What happens after that?" Jake grinned. "We try not to get caught." At the stroke of midnight, they blew out the candle and relit it. The flame sputtered before holding steady, casting long shadows across the walls. For a moment, nothing happened. The cabin was still, the only sound the faint creaking of the old wooden floor. "This is dumb," Emily said, breaking the silence. Then the temperature in the room dropped. The warmth of the fire seemed to vanish, replaced by a chill that seeped into their bones. Sarah shivered. "Did you feel that?" Before anyone could answer, there was a knock at the door. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. Jake froze. "No way. It's just the wind," Emily said, her voice unsteady. The knocks came again, louder this time. 3 precise, measured strikes. The kind that demanded an answer. "Is someone out there?" Sarah whispered. "No one should be," Jake muttered. The candle flickered, its flame dancing wildly. Emily grabbed it, her knuckles white. "What do we do?" Jake's voice was barely audible. "We keep the candle lit. Whatever you do, don't let it go out." The knocking stopped, but the silence was worse. Pressed down on them, thick and suffocating. Emily thought she saw something move in the shadows, just beyond the candle's glow. Then a soft scraping sound. It came from inside the cabin, slow and deliberate, like nails dragging across the wooden floor. Emily's heart pounded. "Jake, this isn't funny anymore." "It's not me," Jake hissed. The scraping grew louder, circling them. Sarah clutched Emily's arm, her breathing ragged. "I thought he was supposed to stay outside." Jake didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the darkness, his face pale. "He's not supposed to be inside," he whispered. The candle flame flickered again, weaker this time. Emily felt a cold breath on her neck and spun around, but there was nothing there. The scraping stopped, replaced by a new sound, a faint, rasping whisper. "Why did you call me?" Emily's hands shook so badly she almost dropped the candle. "Jake, what happens if he catches us?" Jake swallowed hard. "I don't know. No one's ever finished the game to tell the story." The whisper came again, louder now and more distinct. "Why did you call me?" Sarah screamed as a shadow moved across the wall, its shape wrong, elongated, unnatural. Crept closer, the darkness swallowing everything in its path. "Run!" Jake shouted, grabbing the candle and bolting for the door. Emily and Sarah followed, their feet pounding against the floor as they burst into the cold night air. The candle sputtered but stayed lit, its small flame their only protection. They ran blindly into the woods, branches tearing at their clothes and faces. The shadow followed, faster than it should have been, whispering their names now. Emily, Sarah, Jake. Finally, they reached the edge of the woods and collapsed, gasping for breath. The candle burned steady in Jake's hand, and the whispers stopped. For a long moment, there was only silence. "Did we win?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. Jake shook his head. "We didn't finish the game." The next morning, they returned to the cabin. Everything was exactly as they'd left it. The papers, the matches, the overturned chairs. But as Emily looked around, her blood ran cold. On the wall, written in soot, were the words, "You can't outrun me," and underneath their names were crossed out. Thanks for stepping into the unknown with us. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button, drop a comment with your favorite twist, and don't forget to subscribe, because the best stories always have another chapter waiting. See you in the shadows.